For those who don't know who I am, I'm Alex, and I am a normal person. However, I've got a bit of a passion for long distance cycling. So this video is to give a bit of explanation about what I'm going to be working on, and also a call for help and support in terms of this project which I'm going through. I work in a normal lifestyle, but then I have a passion for long distance cycling. This can be anything from 200-300 kilometres up to my longest ride is 1,850 kilometres on a static bike. I've also done London, Edinburgh, London a couple of times, like 1,500 kilometres or so, along with various other Audaxes, long distance events and so forth. Now, the reason why I'm putting this video out is because I've got a project and something which I want to build towards, which is in November of 2025. And that is to have a look at going for the indoor world distance record on a static bike. Currently, I've got an application in with the Guinness World Records. There's a category to go for. So I'm looking to do that after what I did in 2022. Which was 1,851 hours, 1,851 kilometres in around about 60 hours. That was in this room when I was on a static bike going through that process. Kind of building on inspiration and the motivations of lots of other riders into this area. This is where I'm looking at doing a focus for 2025. Now, back when I did my previous event, when I did the 1,851 kilometres, much of that was done on self-motivation, self-dedication, and I did that through a process which was roughly about 18 months to go through there. And a lot of that, combined with the London, Edinburgh, London in that year as well, helped all build towards that. However, being 60 hours or so that I was on a bike, I did have support for people come to the window and bits and pieces to help support me. However, much of it was done off my own back. It was my own finance, it was my own holiday days that I took to make this project work, and that's what I went through. Now, to go for the record which I wish to do this time, which is for 168 hours, so 1 week. How that week is split up, how that week starts and finishes, it's at the moment is under debate and development. However, effectively, I could start at 10 o'clock on the Saturday, and as long as I'm finished by the following Saturday at 10 o'clock, all is good. And then I'm setting the record. Now, as that is going to be 7 consecutive days of cycling on the static bike up in my hut in the top of the garden, there's a lot which goes around that process. So I'll split it out. For those who wish to know more about the nutritional parts, for those who wish to know more about the training parts, for those who wish to know about the logistical parts, I'll try and split this video out into chapters that will talk you through the different modules that I'm going to be looking at. For each one has a different demand, and for each one has a different motivation, different financial commitments, and a different physical commitment to those projects. So let's talk first about in terms of the physical commitment which I'm going to be going through. Through 2025, I've got a number of longer distance rides which I'm going to be working through. Also, in combination with that, there's a lot of time which is on Zwift and on the Turbo Trainer to build up endurance, build up FTP base, build up VO2 max, all that stuff to build it up to get to a threshold and a level which I'm going to have the ability to attempt this. This year is also London, Edinburgh, London 2025, which I'm going to be riding. That's going to be in August. So I've got all this preparation work, which I'm going to be doing anyway, and a lot of that is going through. I'm working with a number of online platforms. However, I don't have a performance coach. So my call outs in this section of so my call out in this section of the video is that if there's anybody who is in the local area, I live in Nottingham, who's willing to work with me either as a student project, either as a something to add onto your CV, something where you want to do a study, etc. Please do reach out to me in terms of discussing how we can work mutually to work together on this project. I will go into the finance section of this, but I do not have a huge budget for this. I cannot afford to have a personal trainer on a huge amount of cash and all the rest of it. I don't have a performance team. A lot of it is going to be pro bono. A lot of it is also going to be supported from my financial pocket, which has also got to go onto the food and everything else as well. So I want to work with other people on this. Next section to discuss is the financial part of this project. So most of this is, the previous projects which I did was entirely self-funded. I had no cash input from anybody. I was hunting around for discounts on the Lidl aisle rather than actually having a sponsor saying, here's your sports nutrition. To go through this process, there's two large commitments which I will have. One is in terms of time off work. To take time out of my work life to go and do this, I need cash to afford my family. So I'm looking for sponsorship in terms of where people can help support me, and whether that is advertising, whether that is marketing, whether that is sponsorship. That is all on the table at the moment. My only conditions on that is that the sponsorship or anything which is an endorsement or the rest of it has to be aligned with where I am looking. I will not take money from a petrochemical company, for example. Ethically, I think that's wrong. Ethically, also, I will not take money from a vape company or something which is derogatory to health, or something which is not related to what we are doing and what the idea is. I'm very much into the idea of endorsements, partnerships, sponsorships, things that are related to sports, climate change, environmental issues, etc. That's where my heart lies. If there's anybody out there who's watching this video, who is looking for sponsorship of somebody who's going to be doing an event, then please get in contact. So that's my first part, is in terms of I need to cover my own personal cost. I am having a high commitment into this in terms of where I'm putting the training and what my physical cost is through this process up until August time. Is going to be business as usual for myself, and I'll be spending my money on training for London, Edinburgh, London. On top of the actual time off from work, so I'm going to be lacking in earnings, there's also going to be quite a financial cost in terms of fueling this week. In estimation, and this will go into the nutritional section of it as well, in estimation, when I've done 500 kilometres on Zwift per day previously, I've been in the region of 9,000 to 10,000 calories per 500 kilometres. So you can imagine that over the course of the 7 days, that's approximately 70 to 75,000 calories-ish I will be burning in that window of time. That has a cost to it because that is food. That's how to go into me. So the two areas which I'm looking to do is that I need to some way which I can bridge the cost of taking time off work and bridge the cost in terms of cost spent on this. Hence, if there's anybody who's looking in terms of financially supporting me, I'm more than open to suggestions. Next section is looking at both the performance section and the nutritional section. So as I touched on the requirements or the support which I would like to have in terms of looking at the physical performance, tracking where my performance is by a certain point, how to develop it and how to get that trajectory onto being the right point at the right date. Also, I'm aware that nutritionally I am not perfect. I learned a lot when I was on studies previously back in 2017, I think it was, or 2018, and we're looking at carbohydrate uptakes, etc. Any guidance from a nutritionalist to help me out with this, particularly more the sports science part of it, I do read up on it as much as I can. However, I know that I'm going to have my own misnomers, my own biases. I'm not going to be up to the most recent stuff, and I know that YouTube is flooded with information, some of it good, some of it is utter crap. So any support on that would be most appreciated. Next section is in terms of partly the support around the house. To go along with this process, I will be asking my wife and my family quite a lot of overload, because we are going to have work lives, we are going to have kids going to school, we are going to have my wife still working. Some of the logistics around the building, around the house, anybody who wishes to help will be most appreciated, especially if you live local. Thank you. Right, a section about in terms of motivations and linking out from this project into some of the more social issues which I've got at my core. So one of the aspects I'm looking at is in development of this project, I am going to be broadcasted on Twitch or a streaming platform throughout this process. I will be visible. One of the things that I think is extremely important currently in our what's going on in the world is mental health, especially things like male mental health. I'm not saying that just because I'm a man, but I'm also hearing a lot in terms of the podcasts I listen to, my personal experiences, isolation of men, technology dependencies, etc. There's a lot of pressures which men are going through at this time. And men do not speak about their mental health. Most people are silent about it, and I think that's something which needs to be addressed. And coupled into that is the where those men come from. They come from children, they come from boys, and mental health in young children, adolescents, is critical at this moment. We want to stop feeding the beast effectively. We want to put cures in rather than putting preventions in. And I think the cure has to be early on and so the prevention has to be early on to prevent us having to get a cure later on. So what I wish to do is through this process is link this through to mental health charities. I also want to see if there's anything which I can do locally, or if it's national, international, etc. I'm going to start getting some counsel in terms of which charities work well, which charities are most effective or put through or have greatest impact. However, I'm slightly blind in terms of how this works. Any support that will help me on guidance on that section, I will be mostly appreciative. And then if I can find out some way in which I can partnership, etc., that'd be fantastic. I suppose the next section which I'm going to touch on is in terms of some of the IT side of this project. Most of the stuff that I do is out on the road, so I'm very much a road cyclist. Some of the things which I've done previously, like the Zwift 1851 kilometre ride, I did that using 2 desktop computers, one with Twitch and one with Zwift that's working. I've got a Zwift subscription, I've got a setup that all works. Part of the thing that I'm naive to or kind of lacking in skill in is presentation, as you will tell by this video. So part of what I'm looking at is if there's anybody who can help and support in terms of slightly more the marketing and the aesthetic side of this thing. To go for the world record, the 2 things which I will have to do, one is have verifiable data. That verifiable data is the GXP file or GPX file or the .fit file effectively that comes from Zwift, and it'll also be going to be on Strava. So that's going to be part of it, which is going to be for verification. The second part of verification is that it'll be broadcast, so people can see that I am not cheating on this process. Previously I used Twitch. I'm getting more comfortable with kind of trying to address cameras, etc. I'm an introvert, I'm not. This isn't my normal process. But I'm aware that in terms of attractiveness to the eyeball, if I'm going to be broadcast for a week, how do I make it not look amateurish and buggy and glitchy? How do I make it so that there can be web banners or pop-ups or something that makes more interactive displays? That kind of stuff is stuff that I need to learn. Also, if I'm going to have sponsorship or there's going to be a charity linked to this, how do you make it so that you can see that sponsor on the page, and how can you make it so that the charity can be donated to? I've done GoFundMe's and charity pages before. How that links through from a streaming platform to a charity page, that's the bit I'm still need to learn and work on. If anybody can help guide me with that, I'll be most appreciative in setting it up. Thank you. So I think that's all the topics which I need to work on it in terms of this project plan. Hopefully what I've done is I've put into the chapters kind of like chunks so that you can review which person or part you might wish to be involved in, or if you know somebody who's looking for that outreach, and then you can send them a link or a timestamp to say, hey, Alex is doing this project, can you help out with this? This video was going to be put onto YouTube, but it's going to be on a setting which means that you need to have the link to share it. It won't necessarily appear in your algorithm, partly because this is a big project. People might have different opinions, chime-ins, or the rest of it. The record could be poached in August to a level which is unattainable by myself. So that's why I'm kind of slightly cagey about it, and I want to publicise it, but I want to make it so it's publicised in the right way. Time plan at the moment is to go through all these phases where I go through the training process early on. I do London, Edinburgh, London. Then when I come back after August and then going into September time, that's when we really start to put visual splash out. But at the moment, this is where I'm working at the moment, is getting these project nuggets all to align together to make it viable. So thank you very so much for your attention. Please do share this video. Please share the sections if required to those people who need to address it. Thank you very much.